Shout out to everyone watching. Shout out to everyone watching. This is the 995th edition of TSR Live. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started here, guys. Big thanks goes out to Chisha Zed over at the Coffee Pod. He talks about current events, talks about hip-hop. Every once in a while, he'll delve into sports if it happens to do with anything he regularly discusses. Well, he stumbled on another great video, and his reaction to said video was solid as always, but I'm going to add a little bit more context and nuance to this video because I think Zed either missed or didn't acknowledge some of the more nuanced elements in this particular video in the way of body language, vocal tone, voice inflections, and so on and so forth. So the name of the video is Because He's a Nice Guy. That's paraphrasing it here, as you guys can see. The theme is long and unnecessary, but because she says, because he's a nice guy, so many times during this video, it's only fitting to call the video the same thing. Anyway, let's jump in and see what we are dealing with here.
You know, I was married to a nice guy who was pro-therapy. I'm going to tell you guys what that was like for me.
Okay, so the first few seconds have already told us quite a bit about this chick, Miss Skrillex here. Number one, you can tell she's a bitch. The overly dramatized introduction, the fake twirling of the hair, trying to imply that she does this sort of thing all the time, the sarcastically extreme voice inflections, to add a little bit of, dark comedic charm that gives her just enough plausible deniability to say, what? I was just joking, when someone inevitably calls her out on her bitchy disposition. Number two, you can see the effects of a lifetime of bad decisions. Not only on her facial expressions, which again, are purposely embellished for extra kudos in the comments, or standing up to, or coming forward with this harrowing tale of survival involving whoever her ex-husband is. But aside from all that, aside from her ridiculous facial expressions, aside from all of those ridiculous facial expressions, aside from all that, she's got a Skrillex haircut, and she's also got gauged out ears. Guys, the Skrillex haircut and the gauged out ears, gentlemen, if you look at this, that's all you need to know. Look. You can actually see the light. You can actually see the light shining through her gauged out ears. Okay, that tells us all we need to know about decision-making, this woman's decision-making acumen or lack thereof. Gentlemen, what we need to understand today is that most women, when left to their own devices, are self-destructive. If a woman, and we see this time and again, we see this all the time, every day, if a woman isn't being led by a strong leader, a strong masculine leader, who understands the way the world works and the measures he needs to put in place to reduce the odds of her self-destructing, then she will in fact self-destruct. Seems pretty standard to me. And if you don't believe me, look at today's strong and independent women. What do they all do? They all do the same things, right? They work jobs they hate. To buy things they can't afford to impress people they don't like, while simultaneously juggling 3 guys they know they'll never sleep with, and keeping all of those shenanigans away from the one guy she is interested in, whom she knows will never commit to her outside of his cock and balls. This is a hill that feminists are going to die on, because this ain't changing anytime soon, y'all. Men and women need one another for different reasons, but those reasons are dwindling in importance just given the state of today's dating market. So here we have a woman who is clearly a bitch, who we can clearly see makes bad decisions. Let's see where this continues to take us, shall we?
Remember when we first got together, everybody was so excited because he was such a nice guy. Everybody was like, oh my God, Christine, we've seen you in just such a string of terrible relationships. We're so happy to see you with a nice guy.
And now, here is proof Here's more proof of her bad decision making. More proof of her bad decision making. Her friends and family outed her when they congratulated her for having gotten with a dude who doesn't put hands on her, isn't a drug addict, with a gambling problem, with occasional proclivities to commit violent crimes for no good reason. Let's just call a spade, guys. This woman's a loser. She's a loser, man. And it's funny that these girls think that we actually miss this stuff. Right? Like, this chick has no idea that less than 20 seconds into this little cathartic video of hers, we've already got her pegged. We've already got her pegged. She's another modern woman who has made bad decisions since she figured out that guys want to, that guys want to do this. Right? She knows all that. And now she's going to tell us about her harrowing experience with a nice guy. And don't get it twisted here, gentlemen. Don't get it twisted. Skrillex Girl here is telling the truth. This dude was a nice guy. Well, how do you know, Donovan? Women don't always tell the truth, but now you're telling me that you believe her? You're absolutely right. Women lie far more often than they tell the truth. You're getting no argument from me. However, the vitriol and outright disgust she displays in this video means that there is a 654% chance that he is that he was a nice guy. We know about all of these. Let's continue.
And I remember the first time I confronted him on treating me poorly in front of our friends at dinner one night.
Ah, here we go. Here we go. The confronting him thing. The confronting him thing. Let me go back here. Let me go back here real quick. Law number 2 of the 49 Laws of Sharpe explicitly states that you should never, ever treat a slut like a lady. Right? Should never treat a slut like a lady. Well, one of the most ubiquitous, immutable truths about modern women here in 2023 is that the better you treat him, the worse they treat you. The better you treat women, the worse they treat you. Well, the reason for this is simple. Despite what they say out loud or on social media, girls who sleep around know they're not worthy of being treated like a lady. They know this. They are keenly aware that outside of the orgasms they occasionally provide, they are completely useless to high-caliber men. For this reason, they tend to gravitate towards men who treat them like garbage, cheat on them, and disrespect them. They know they deserve this behavior, which is why they can't get enough of these guys. Guys are always asking, why do women chase these douchebags all the time? Why are girls so loyal to guys who treat them so badly? Well, one of the main reasons, like I just outlined, is that they know it's what they deserve. They know this. They know that because they've shared their body with so many men, they don't deserve to be with good men. They just don't. So when a man comes along in her life and treats her with kindness, respect, courtesy, she gets upset because she thinks subconsciously, how does this guy know that I am not worthy of this treatment? How does this guy know that I am a lady? I've got green hair. I've got a bull ring in my nose. I've got three nipple piercings, and by the way, don't ask about that third nipple. You'll never be the same. I got a giant tattoo on my thigh, 3 kids by 2 different men, which is actually 2.5 because I'm not 100% sure that Eddie Jr. is Eddie's father. I go to the club every Saturday night, and I told him I still talk to my ex. Why is this guy still so clueless? Well, gentlemen, when she asks herself these things, she will poke and prod the guy just to make sure he's not pretending to like her to get easy sex and then bounce. She has to poke and prod to make sure he's not that dab. Right? But once she figures out that he's another clueless dude who believes everything he hears about women, she will lie, she will cheat, and she will disrespect him. Understand this, gentlemen. And I really, really want you to listen to this, because no matter how many times I say this, no matter how many times this is proven, no matter how many times we see this in our face, We still don't get it. So I need you to really listen here. And that goes for me too. Women positively loathe men who do not recognize them for who and what they are, and will punish these men with the fury of 1,000 suns. Guys, hoes absolutely despise men who do not recognize that they are hoes. Another reason eggplant enthusiasts treat good men terribly is because chaos, drama, turmoil, and dysfunction, it's all they know. It's all they know. These girls are like ex-cons, essentially, who have been institutionalized by dick. They've been institutionalized by the prison system. When they get out, they don't know how to act. They can't handle freedom. They can't handle choices. All they know is 3 squares and a 6x9, or 3 hots and a cot for us West Coast criminals. All they know is being told when to take a piss. All they know is being told when they can go outside. All they know is being told when they can eat. All they know is being told when they go to sleep, when to sleep. Lights out. All they know is having eyes in the back of their heads, or having their heads on a swivel so they don't get shanked on the yard by a gang member. Put simply, they cannot handle freedom. So what happens? Well, recidivism. Well, what's recidivism? It's reoffending. When prisoners get out of, institutionalized prisoners get out of prison and don't really know how to function in society. Look no further than the Shawshank Redemption. Crooks. He'd spent most of his life in prison, 50 some odd years. He gets out at 85, he can't handle it, he hangs himself. Spoiler alert. So, what do women do? They reoffend in order to go back to the environment that they're the most comfortable in. Unfortunately for Crooks, he took his own life. But the point is the point. Gentlemen, girls are exactly the same way. All they know is getting treated like garbage. All they know is being verbally and sometimes physically desuba, spelled backwards. All they know is getting cheated on. All they know is constant turbulence. All they know is constant drama. So when they finally rid themselves of that toxic relationship, in other words, the guy who was toxic no longer wants to be with her anymore because she's not young and hot the way she used to be. She is freed from that relationship. She is freed from that relationship, right? But because that's all they know, they reoffend, if you will, to get thrown back to the men who use and isuba them. Because despite the physical and mental wear and tear that comes with dating men like this, it is what they are the most comfortable with. This is exactly where most women find themselves today, gentlemen, and that includes Skrillex Girl here. They're not given parole for some reason, or they're given parole for some reason or another, but because she's not sure of what awaits her on the other side, on the outside she gets anxious. She has no idea how she'll respond to good treatment from good men. And they're scared, guys. They're scared. They couldn't handle freedom in their 20s, which is why they were sent to prison in the first place. Women who treat you better when you treat them poorly aren't used to good treatment. Guys, and this can be for any number of reasons. No father in the home. She's been in an evisuba, spelled backwards, relationship because of daddy issues. I mean, the list goes on and on. But the bottom line is that women who have slept around will never, ever react well to being treated well. And Miss Skrillex here is exactly that. Do not get it twisted. Let's continue.
And him slamming on the car brakes to intimidate me.
Wait a minute. Let's go back and listen to this nonsensical dribble.
Because he's such a nice guy. I remember the first time he tried to tell me who I could and could not spend time with. And when I pushed back, he escalated so viciously that he started hitting himself, threatened to kick me out of our apartment.
Wait a minute, hold up a second. Hold up a second. I missed something very, very critical there.
And him slamming on the car brakes.
There it is. Listen to this, guys. This is some BS.
One night, and him slamming on the car brakes to intimidate. Relationships were so happy to see you with a nice guy. And I remember the first time I confronted him on treating me poorly in front of our friends at dinner one night, and him slamming on the car brakes to intimidate me.
Okay, let's stop it right there because something's not adding up, y'all. Something's not adding up. She said she confronted him about his treatment of her at dinner with friends. And to intimidate her, he slammed the brakes. Okay. Did you guys have dinner at Sonic? Did you have dinner at a drive-in restaurant where all the waitresses wear roller skates? I mean, see, this is what women do, guys. This is what women do. They make shit up to avoid accountability and to make the other person look completely unredeemable. The story she just told us makes absolutely zero sense, guys. No sense whatsoever. She just wanted to use the "he slammed on the brakes to intimidate me" line she's been holding on to since she started TikTok. I don't even think, honestly, man, I don't think the story she just told is even a little bit true. We know that modern women flat out lie about their exes as a matter of habit. They're on autopilot with this. But listen, let's just humor this chick. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, that this story is true to some degree, even though we know he didn't slam on the car brakes during dinner, because that would be physically impossible unless they were having a picnic in a car or some weird group thing. Let's just assume she's telling the truth. Her first mistake was bringing this up in front of friends. Gentlemen, women who put your personal disagreements with your significant other out for public consumption are women who can never be trusted. You can't trust her to understand that your conversations are between you and her. You can't trust her emotionally. You can't trust her to be faithful. You can't trust her to do anything. Guys, any woman, any female you are sexually involved with who puts your business out in the streets belongs to the streets. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't care. I don't care if she's the most attractive woman you've ever laid eyes on. I don't care if she can cook and clean or any of that. If she cannot be trusted to keep your relationship affairs between you and her, kick her, you know what, to the curb. The second thing I'd like to point out is that slamming on your brakes isn't against the law, Ms. Skrillex. And you can't tell us unequivocally that he slammed on the brakes for the express intent of intimidating solely you. And here's one more thing. You said you confronted him on treating you poorly. Let's not let that little nugget get away, because we know that a modern woman's definition of poor treatment is a man with boundaries, standards, and expectations who expects his woman not to put herself or the relationship at risk by engaging in behaviors that increase that likelihood. It's funny, sometimes you hear this kind of stuff. Like, girls describe relationships where they can get away with cheating. They describe those relationships as healthy. Right? But let a man enforce his boundaries and all of a sudden he's toxic, controlling, and possessive, right? The bottom line here is that this dinner nonsense didn't happen the way Skrillex Girl said it did. Knowing women like I do, she probably took different parts from a couple of different stories and pieced them all together to demonize her ex and paint herself as the victim. Standard operating procedure for modern women. Let's continue.
Because he's such a nice guy. I remember the first time he tried to tell me who I could and could not spend time with. And when I pushed back, he escalated so viciously that he started hitting himself, threatened to kick me out of our apartment, threatened to call the police on me, and threatened to drain our joint banking account. Because he's such a nice guy.
So he starts telling you what you can or cannot do. Understand that. You tell him that he can't control you, and in response, he starts hitting himself, threatening to kick you out, threatening to call the cops, and threaten to drain your joint bank account. You guys noticing a pattern here? So far, Skrillex Girl hasn't mentioned anything her ex allegedly did that actually breaks the law. Slammed on the car brakes, he hits himself, threatening to kick her out, joint bank account is gonna call the cops. Sweetheart, hitting yourself while stupid and inadvisable isn't against the law, at least not as far as I know. But he's not hitting you. He's not putting himself. He's hitting himself. That doesn't put you in danger. Then she says he threatened to kick her out. Okay, I'm sure that wasn't fun to have to go through, but again, not illegal. Not against the law. Neither is threatening to call the cops or threatening to drain your joint bank account. Guys, you can tell that this chick is leaving out critical information here. What she is not telling us is that the reason he told her he has a problem with who she hangs out with is because he, like all men, recognizes bad influences when we see them. You see, gentlemen, never, and I am very confident in saying this, never in the history of the world has a man ever had a problem with his significant other going over to her girlfriend's place to drink wine, watch movies, and talk about how much they hate their husbands. We don't have a problem with that. We don't have a problem with you having Rachel and Sylvia over to make hors d'oeuvres for the dinner party later. We have zero issue with you having brunch and mimosas with your mother and sister every other Saturday mornings as per your tradition. But we all know, let's just keep it real, we all know that redneck Skrillex girl here probably doesn't even know what wine is, let alone hors d'oeuvres. And she doesn't really strike me as a mimosa girl. She looks more, honestly, she looks more like a liquor girl, like an AMF girl. Adios, mother, you know what. You can tell this chick comes from a family that considers any liquor under 100 proof is probably just basically Gatorade. Anyway, we have yet to hear anything she is alleging that her ex-husband did that was against the law. But the way she's over-dramatizing it, and the way she's framing it, paints the exact narrative she wants. And that was that she was in an Evisaba, spelled backwards, relationship, and I don't buy that for a second. Let's continue.
And when I would talk to people around me about this, they'd be like, oh God, I'm so surprised to hear this, but he's such a nice guy. But you know what? Relationships do bring out the worst in us sometimes, And maybe there's something that you're doing to trigger him because, he's such a nice guy.
This is unbelievable. So none of these people, so this dude was apparently psychologically, verbally, physically Evisaba. You told all your family and friends about it, and none of them took your side. None of them told you to go to the cops. None of them told you to leave. Then right at the end, she says, maybe you're doing something to trigger him because he's a nice guy. Well, there it is, guys. We knew we'd get to the point where she'd have to own up to her role in the demise of the relationship. And surprise, surprise, she characterized it exactly the way most women characterize their failed relationships. By talking about the fact that her friends had the audacity, the unmitigated gall to actually fix their mouths to suggest that maybe, just maybe, her ex wasn't an a-hole to her for just no reason. Did you hear how she said, what did you do to trigger him? As though trying to reenact some sort of victim-blaming scenario to once again make her look like the victim.
I remember the first day that suddenly there could not be any dishes in the sink anymore when he got home from work. Because, his parents were hoarders and he grew up in filth and he just could not have a dirty environment. Never mind the fact that the apartment he was living in before we got together was a pigsty. When he lived alone, it was fine, but suddenly there's a woman in the house and he's got to have order. Everything's got to be in its place. Everything has to be spick and span.
Sorry.
That's what he needs, to feel emotionally secure.
Did she really just say spick and span? I haven't heard that in ages. Anyway, Skrillex Girl is using a go-to strategy that modern women have been using to skirt any and all accountability. And that strategy is the he was awesome in the beginning, but he turned out to be a monster excuse. How many times have we seen girls on Fresh and Fit, or Zerka, or Sneeko, or Pearl, or Sosnick, or the whatever podcast, how many times have we heard, well, when I met him, he was just the sweetest guy ever. But without any warning or logical explanation, he just transformed into the Incredible Hulk. He was short-tempered, he was disrespectful, he put his hands on me. OMG, he was a nightmare. The reason they use this technique is because, number one, they know that nobody can prove they're lying, right? Number two, it's the easiest way to justify their bad behavior. And number three, well, to win the argument. Well, I know somebody who married the perfect guy but turned out to be a serial killer. Okay, all right. That may be true, but that is clearly the gross outlier. Hell, even Ted Bundy got ass sometimes. The point is that none of us knows what happened in this relationship because we weren't there. But this is why being proficient at reading body language, changes in vocal tones, and inflections is important. This is why I put out my courses, How to Build a Quality Woman from the Ground Up. This is why I have my free ebooks, 16 Ways to Immediately Disqualify Her for a Long-Term Relationship. And you can already tell right here, Skrillex Girl has about 3 red flags in the beginning. The first red flag is the gauged out ear. The second red flag is her overall persona. Her third red flag, she looks like she's outside of a double wide trailer. Bitch is a reg. Oh, here's another red flag. Here's another red flag. She has short, dirty fingernails. That's a red flag in and of itself. Any bitch who has short, dirty fingernails, that's a dirty bitch. Anyway. We all know that women lie more than they tell the truth. So when someone is telling us a story like this one, we can very quickly deduce that she is being dishonest to some degree, right? But let's get to this emotionally secure thing. Sweetheart, he doesn't want his house clean because he wants to be emotionally secure. He wants his house clean because his parents were hoarders. He told you that himself in confidence. He wants his place spick and span because he doesn't want to relive his childhood. This is a perfectly logical and reasonable explanation, yet this chick wants to act like it shouldn't matter. Shout out to Leo S with the $50 Cash App. Says, thanks for all you do, Donovan. Appreciate that very, very much. $sign Donovan Sharpe, $sign Donovan Sharpe. If you want to donate via Cash App, as BK from the Rockies just put that in there. And God forbid, to continue, God forbid a man actually expects something in return for taking care of his woman. Like, God forbid a man want a clean place. Heaven forbid he wants a clean place, a hot meal, and a feminine-friendly woman to come home to in exchange for him working outside the home to provide her with a better life. Because I can promise you this. The minute a man says, I don't really feel like paying the bills this month, her legs will snap shut like a bear trap, as they should. But by the same token, if we uphold our end of the bargain, we're not going to commit to someone who doesn't want to uphold their end. And that's one of the many issues facing men today when it comes to dealing with women. This woman, like most Western women, she doesn't think of relationships in a value for value exchange. Instead, women like her like to come into relationships thinking that it's a value loaded exchange. Meaning that in her mind, she brings more inherent value to the table so she doesn't have to prove anything to you. Why else do you think modern women get their panties in a bunch when guys don't take them out for dates anymore? Right? It's because in their minds, it's the man who owes the woman for simply allowing him, to be in her presence. Well, that's the same mentality this woman has. She has a problem with her man wanting his house clean, which means she doesn't think anything is required of her to earn or keep his commitment. That's why she has such an attitude problem. You want emotional intimacy, sweetheart? He wants his place clean. You want emotional intimacy? He wants his dick sucked. You want emotional intimacy? He needs his meals cooked. If you're not willing to do all those things, then that's fine. But don't go on TikTok moaning and groaning about something you're not getting that you are unwilling to work for. What sense does that make? Let's continue.
That's what he needs from me in order to show up in our relationship and start giving me the emotional intimacy that I want, And how great of him to communicate that to me because he's such a nice guy. I remember one fight we had where I walked away from him and closed the bedroom door behind me and he punched a hole in that door. And I thought I was done then. And I thought I would be supported in being done then. But, he threw the curveball of couples therapy and everybody and their mom was like, oh my God, he's willing to heal for you.
Whoa. Wait a minute. He punched a hole in the wall. He slammed on the brakes to intimidate you. There's all of this verbal and physical evasiva. Why haven't we called the cops? Your life is really in danger. Last I checked, it is 2023. We do have cell phones. Right? Why has she not called the cops one time? The only one who's really talked about calling the cops is him, the actual victim. And here's another thing. See, he's willing to change for you. See, this is why we know he was really a nice guy. This is why we know, y'all, because she positively loathes this guy. She hates him because he was a nice guy, y'all. That's the gag. That's the mystery. That's the jig. Think about all the stories you've heard from girls. And guys, listen. I don't want you to just... No, really think about this. Think about some of the stories you've heard from girls who are actually describing being in an Ivisuba, spelled backwards, relationship. As in, he puts hands on her, he drinks too much, he throws her around, always in trouble with the law, does drugs. I mean, genuinely a bad dude. Now think to yourself, do these women ever talk about the bad boys in their lives with the same level of vitriol that this woman is talking about a nice guy? You ever heard of a woman with this level of venom in her face and in her heart when talking about an actual douchebag who actually did her wrong? Dude cheats on her with his mom, cheats on her with her best friend, maxes out her credit card, drives out all her gas, plays video games all day with his homeboys, and eats up all her food. She will never say a bad thing about him. But the guy who actually tried to lay down the law, now he's the asshole. Got it. I mean, look, guys, the extreme sarcasm, the irreverence, the disrespect. I've heard girls tell some crazy stories. As in, my boyfriend cheated on me, moved in with another bitch for 6 months, then came back to me. One of my models, oh my God, one of the models I hired has a boyfriend who is not only on steroids, he puts his hands on her and he cheats on her. She swore up and down she was done with him. But not only did she never utter a bad word about him other than his transgressions, which she regularly made excuses for, she actually got back with him. And surprise, surprise, he didn't want her flying out to make content with me. And if I were him, that was probably a good decision. So just remember, gentlemen, when a woman speaks about a man with this level of hate, this level of malice, this level of hostility, you can be 644% certain that the man she is describing is truly a nice guy. And when nice guys figure out that they have been sold out, that's when they get angry. Shout out to Oma in the house as she's oozing high body count vibes. Yes, she is. Oma can actually use the English language when she's giving high body count. Thank you, Oma, for being grammatically sound. I appreciate that. But he's right. She is definitely oozing high body. Oh, are you kidding me? Look at this chick. Anyway, Roland Tomasi calls this awakened while married. And I think this could have been the case here in terms of her husband's behavior. I think that this woman has always been a bitch who's walked all over her man. I think she twisted his arm to marry her, and she proceeded to use him as a doormat. But the second he said to himself, wait a minute, I make all the money, I provide for her, she doesn't have to work, but I still can't get a hot meal, I still can't get a clean house, I can't even get a lackluster blowjob, and that's when his behavior starts to change. He realizes he's not getting fair market value for his efforts, and because of that, he decided he wouldn't take it anymore. And guys, that's the only explanation I can think of here that actually makes sense based only on what Skrillex Girls told us. Because we as men, we don't just all of a sudden turn evil, right? We don't just all of a sudden, reverse skate for no good reason. No. We live, we learn, we find new information, we take stock, and we make changes. And if the woman in your life isn't on board with those changes, no problem. She can kick rocks. She can kick rocks, or she can remain in your rotation and it'll be strictly casual. Or she can jump on TikTok and tell a bunch of these lies to make herself feel better about ditching a nice guy. Ay, 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 ay.
My husband won't even go to therapy. What a nice guy. I didn't want to do couples therapy with this man, but everybody told me that I was being difficult and unfair to him, so I did it. And I remember when our couples therapist asked him to look me in the eyes and realize that all of his behavior was harming me. And I remember seeing the resentment in his eyes as he was being told by a professional that he was not, in fact, entitled to treat me the way that he had been for so long. because he was such a nice guy.
Okay, so now the question becomes, why did you stay with him for so long despite the fact that he was treating you so poorly? I know a little further down in this video, she says that she had been married to him for 7 years. 7 years. You see, girls love to blame men for their bad decisions, but then in the same breath say, you can't control me. Well, they're only half right. They're only half right. No, you cannot control a woman, nor should you seek to. So if men can't control women, then why is this woman still blaming men for her bad decisions? Well, that's simple. Simple. Women are allergic to accountability, guys. They're allergic to accountability. In the end, guys, man, like, we know that this isn't even half of the story. Bitches almost never tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If there is a part of the story where they messed up, or even it's either omitted or the storyteller sets up a pre-existing excuse to explain that the bad behavior was not her fault. Right? Like, that's what we're starting to see. We're starting to see women preempt these conversations now. Only recently have we started witnessing women taking accountability on bigger platforms, but even those women are few and far between. At the end of the day, we need to understand that a disproportionate amount of women out here in these streets straight up fabricate stories about you to make you look bad post-breakup. Every single time, guys. And here's one more thing. To point out. Devin and I did a skit. We did a skit, and forgive me for not having it up. But Devin and I have a skit that we did. It was a while back. It's probably about a year ago, where I told her, and this wasn't true. This was actually just a fake story, just to kind of prove a point. But my character was telling her, yeah, you know, my uncle tried to off me one of these days. It was this whole big thing, and da 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 da. And of course she was all like, yeah, you know, I understand, I get it, blah 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 blah. But then later on in the video, we're in an argument, and she says, your uncle should have finished the job. Your uncle should have finished the job. Guys, the reason why I mentioned that skit is because Miss Skrillex here did exactly the same thing. She used his parents being warders against him later on in the relationship. He's got to be embarrassed that his parents are hoarders, and she had to know that. So why would we be surprised that she just let that slip? Make these women earn your emotional trust, gentlemen. There's no need to tell her what your hopes and dreams are when you've been sleeping together for a week and a half. This guy made the same mistake, and now his ex-wife is out here telling everybody that he's an abuser. Unbelievable. And that is the memo. Oh man, oh man, oh man. I'll tell you what, man. So I took the entire weekend off. I took the entire weekend off because I'm really going to try to make this. Really going to try to get some more time off. Let me make a no. I know there's nothing on the screen. Just give me a second. Oh, that's not it.
A woman never.
I don't know why that is so dark over there. I'm gonna have to make some adjustments. But starting tomorrow. What the hell was that? Starting tomorrow, you guys all know that I have my weekly Zoom calls. Well, I'm gonna start doing them on a daily basis. Before every live stream, I will be doing a 30-minute Zoom call. I'll be doing a 30-minute Zoom call just to answer. You know what? I actually had the hang on a second. Because I have the graphic and I don't think I included it. Oh, did I save the motherfucker? Uh-oh. Oh, no, here it is. Oh, there it is. Never mind. My bad, y'all. Let's, I'm gonna call this the Zoom. And just so you guys can see the fancy graphic that I put, there we go, there we are. So yeah, so what I'm gonna start doing is Monday through Thursday at 2:30 p.m. right before I go live, I will be having my daily Zoom calls. I do consultations, I give advice, we talk about dating, relationships, finances, girls, game, you name it. If it has anything to do with masculinity, improving your life as a man overall, we discuss it. And so that is now the only way you can be a part of these is if you are a patron or a Sharpe Stream member. However, you can also take advantage of our 3-day free trial on Sharpe Stream and get access to these daily Zoom calls. And if the access to the daily Zoom calls, along with the 40,000 plus hours of exclusive content not found anywhere on Sharpe Stream, if that's not enough for you, no problem. We thank you for giving us a look-see. But if it is, we welcome you to the community with open arms. And so very, very, very much looking forward to that. All right, let's see. Got another announcement here. I should have had all this done, but I thought I had all this loaded. I guess not. Here we go. That's what it is. Give me a second here, guys. The big D. So right after this live stream, gentlemen, right after this live stream, I will be continuing my dating show breakdown of The Big D. The Big D, it is a new dating and reality show on USA that features 5 divorced couples. They are divorced couples, and they are all taken to this island to see if they can find a connection with any of the other divorced couples. Or lack thereof. And so one man, one woman gets eliminated every weekend until they come up with, I guess, whoever the quote-unquote power couple is. All sorts of red pill truths, being ferreted out here. It's definitely a good watch. It's actually a better show than I had originally thought it was going to be. A lot of cool twists and turns. So looking forward to that. That is actually going to happen in a few minutes. So here's what I am going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link in the chat. I'm going to put the link in the chat at the conclusion of today's live stream. That is where you can find us. All right, let's go and read these chats here. Let's go and read these chats because that is where the bodies, as they say, are buried. Dr. B84 says, Karen, is that you? Yeah, absolutely it was. Oh, and speaking of Karens, we also, at the beginning of the dating show breakdowns, which happen after every live stream, including this one, I also react to equal rights and lefts videos. Yes, when women bark up the wrong tree, put their hands on male homo sapiens and are quickly humbled by the hands of said homo sapiens. Obviously, I can't do that here. It's a ton of fun. Jay Blaze said, fuck her, nice guy X. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Luke Red Pill Perry says, U.S. women's soccer made me lose on DraftKings. They couldn't score 2 in the second half. Yeah, fuck women's soccer. Dude, fuck women's soccer. Fuck Megan Rapinoe. Fuck Alex. Well, I would fuck Alex Morgan, but fuck her. I can't stand any of the women's soccer players. Dude, they get on my last. All they do is talk shit. All they do is talk shit about Trump and grandstand and virtue signal and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I can't get behind women's soccer because they just piss me off. They piss me off. Yep, Jay Blaze says they hate America. Yep, that is. That's exactly right. That's exactly right, man. 100%. The women's U.S. national team hates America, and it's a damn shame. It really is. Like I said, man, I love my country. I really do. And I know that our country leaves a lot to be desired, but dude, if you can't be bothered to stand for the anthem that gives you the right to do what you're doing, then sorry. Blazanity is in the house. Good for you. Good to see you in here. Says he's been more exhausted than normal. Appreciate that. Jay Blaze says, next place I go is Miami. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. Dre Raven says, my money is still meth being involved in this chick's story. Oh, dude, you know meth is involved. You kidding me, man? A redneck bitch with a Skrillex haircut who's with vocal expressions like that? Yeah, guys, like, subscribe, and share the video, guys. Like, subscribe, and share the video, man. The Level Up Man says she never respected him. Nope. The Roadblock 85 says, sad story, brothers will still hit it. Man, I hope not, because she's not attractive at all. Like, at all. Like, she's not attractive at all, dude. Ay. Jay Blaze says, Skylar is a catch compared to her. I don't know what that means, but I appreciate it. Let's see what else is here. Tramp Stamp from O2. You know it. You know it. Roadblock 85 says, Big Don is killing me calling this bitch Skrillex. Yeah, man, hey. Yeah, Dr. B84 says she was the only one hitting him and freaking out. Dude, I would bet an amount of money that mattered to me that there were definitely exchanged blows. Like, dude, come on, man. This is just what girls do. They try to make everything sound one-sided. Oh, I was just making cookies one day when my husband came home and just beat the crap out of me. That's not the way it goes, man. Mike Hawk says she drinks White Claws and Jaeger bombs. I half agree with you there. I think she drinks Jaeger bombs, but I think this is a liquor girl. This is a liquor girl, man. This is a liquor girl for sure. You can always tell the girls that drink liquor and the girls who are just winos. Oops, sorry about that. King Life just sent me something. All right, guys. Yeah, Mike the Supreme says, this is why men often don't open up. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you, dude, women will throw that shit back in your face, man. You kidding me? Jerry Raven says, wait a minute. Dre Raven says, wait, the therapist took his side? There's more to the story than Walterina White telling us. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yep, she despises this guy. Absolutely. Guys, I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. Women do not show the kind of vitriol that this woman shows. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. King Life says, Donovan, I just sent a video of what happens when a nice guy goes over the edge. Oh boy, I'm not going to play it here. Not going to play it here. Hell, I might not even be able to play it on Rumble. I'm told that it's that graphic. All right, guys. So, like I said, I have pinned the chat. I have pinned the link in the chat. The Rumble link for the continued breakdown. Of the Big D. Fascinating show. That is going to do it for this, the 995th edition of TSR Live. My thanks to all of my supporters, my super chatters, my cash appers, and the like. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in a bit.
I ain't gonna lie, but baby girl bad. She got that melanin skin. She got that melanin skin. She got that melanin skin. I ain't finna lie, but baby girl fine. She got some melanin in her. Yeah, she got that melanin in her. She got that melanin skin. For all the ladies with melanin that's comfortable in their element. You a natural baby, that's evident. All the shade they throw your way is irrelevant. That shade you rock can be like medicine. Always on point, I respect your regimen. But you will spread the wind, so you don't really gotta try. Other bitches style jack and wonder why. Cause they wanna be like you. They be buying booty that you grew natural. But they be trying to tan so they look like you. Trying to keep a man so they cook like you. Light skinned, dark skinned, it don't even matter cause they both fine skinned. Baby, either way, be the shit though.
All right, guys. Oh, I got the wrong graphic up there. So now we are going to break down the big D. Clearly, I can't do that here. I obviously can't do that here because of YouTube's copyright, because of their copyright policies. But if you want to come see it live and in living color in real time, see everything we see, head over to the Rumble link. It is in the chat. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to our YouTube audience and hello to our Rumble audience. So Rumble's on. Now let's